Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I am your host, Taylor Petrinovich, joined as always by my friend Kelly Gilster.
Hi, guys, and hi, Taylor. How are you this week?
I am doing so great. We are like firmly into spring, which is so nice. I love winter, but there's just something about like a new season coming around 4 times a year that I always love. I woke up to like the birds chirping this morning, so that was like heaven on earth.
Oh my goodness. I love spring too. Paul and I were just saying how I think that's our favorite season because here in Southern California, the summer gets so busy and then the fall gets really warm and hot. And then winter's nice for a bit. I mean, we don't really get a winter if I'm being honest, but spring just has like the right level of like crispness, really good weather. It's so great.
Everyone's outside, walking around, riding their bikes. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's like life is a buzz and it's really nice. Even as an introvert, I still love it. Um
I love
and
it.
all right, I'm going to transition because we want to get right into today's interview. We brought on Amanda Crean, who's a really talented photographer based in Napa, but she wasn't always based in Napa. She has quite the story that she shares with us during this interview, but we didn't really go in with much of a game plan for today. We kind of had more of an organic conversation, but I just have to say that sometimes those are my favorite episodes.
Yeah, me too. And there's so many great takeaways in this one. I think this will definitely be one where you're going to leave with your head spinning a little bit, which is a really, really good thing. And Amanda is a wealth of knowledge. She's been in the industry for 17 years. She's done some really incredible things throughout her career. Paul and I have had the chance to work with her 2 or 3 times now over the course of our career. And I'll share the number one thing that I learned from her that I implement into my business practice every single wedding moving forward.
This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich,
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
and we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Hey, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week. We are so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys and see your beautiful faces.
So, Amanda, we've had the opportunity to work together 2 or 3 times, I'm trying to think.
Mhm.
And I can't wait to get more into this later on in the episode. But I told Taylor that I actually learned so much from you and have learned so much from you. There are like actual literal key takeaways from watching how you navigate a wedding day that I've now implemented in my business, and it's now like a total standard practice.
Wow.
So I just think that you are just everything. You're so fun. You're so much energy. And we're excited to talk about all things about your rebrand and your business. And for those who are listening that may not be familiar with your photography and you, can you paint them a picture about who you are, where you're based, who you serve?
So let's see here. I almost don't like to say how long I've been doing it because it's been so long that I don't want anyone to go, maybe she's tired, maybe she's, but it is what it is. Like, I think I'm on my 17th year full time. I am from the Midwest. So I'm just a nice little Midwest girl, but with, a little twist. And then I midway into my career moved to Ireland and I lived there for several years. And then I decided to lose my mind again and purpose built my career back in Northern California. And so I live in the vines of Napa. And so because I moved there on purpose with that in mind, that's what I echo. That's a lot. I would say at least half, which is a good bulk of my client and my client base. And then I'll travel like a lot of the West Coast, Rockies. And then just because of that European connection, I'm like back and forth, like it feels like 10 times a year. So I'm everywhere, but with a strong base of of California, and been doing it for too long.
Amazing. Well, you are so talented. And watching you work on a wedding day, I can truly say is such a treat. And um, like going back 17 years ago, did you ever envision that your business would be where it is today, now sitting in 2024?
So if there's anything, so I don't know if you guys have ever gone to an Engage, but they always give us like, these great takeaways, and I don't remember what the test was, but it was like strengths finders. And I say this for a reason, but I've always been like trying to be attuned to myself. What am I like? Why am I like this, etc. And um, like I was valedictorian of my class because
Wow.
not because I felt like I was a good student, but because I was competitive and because I always wanted, that edge. And I thought if somebody could do it, that I could do it. So when I did that strength finders test, it's just like goal oriented, competitive. And so I don't want to come off, like, yeah, I totally, totally thought so. But I really did believe that it just fell into
Yeah.
my lap because I
Mhm.
love people. I feel it's like breathing air to be creative. Not that I'm the most, but I feel like, our job is just so many of perfect pieces that have to kind of go in line. And that just summarized my personality so beautifully. And so, I wasn't great in the beginning, but I believed in myself and I felt like um I kind of have done most of the things that I have set out to want. I feel like it's taken me longer. I've had a lot of bumps in the road, but I feel like that comes off so poorly. Like
No.
I don't want to seem like, yeah, I totally did, but I kind of did. I just felt very right, I suppose. Like I believed I could do it. I made the move to California from a different country because I believed that I could. And it wasn't because I had friends or connections. And so I feel lucky. Maybe it was a good bit of like new delusion. I feel like if there's ever anything I wish I could get back, it's, just when you're very new, you don't know. And so you go out into the unknown and you're just brave. But I think that I still have a lot that I want to achieve, but I feel like I've made strides where I want to. So I will say there's a lot of surprises along the way that's been even better than I think, but I don't know. I hope that answers that a little bit.
Well, I
No,
think
I
that
love that.
every successful person has a level of delusion, honestly, because I don't think
The Lulu
any
is
sane person would go for it this hard. You know what I mean?
I know.
But you need it.
You really do. That's very true. Like I'll stick with that mantra until I die because why not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you just kind of have to like jump all in or Taylor loves that phrase where it says building the parachute on the way down. And I think that's kind of like all
Oh.
what we do as filmmakers, as photographers, planners, whoever it is, like especially in a creative field that also has business interwoven into it. It's like you kind of just jump out of the plane and you build the parachute on the way down and hope that it takes.
It couldn't have been more the truth. So I was a violinist first, which is like such a departure. And then I was like supplementing income, like private teaching, and at a hair salon when I was like as a teenager, and I just hated it because of like the culture and my boss. And I thought, I'm just going to quit without a safety net because then I have to succeed. So
Mm.
I don't have a choice. That was something that I could have done then. I don't think I could, I don't know,
There
maybe I
is,
could, but but that
yeah,
parachute concept is something
yeah.
I very much believe in. I haven't heard it like that, and that's so good.
Yeah, and we did a podcast episode like a couple months ago now called Burning the Boat. I don't know if you've heard of that reference, but it's very much like jumping in without a safety net, and it was like there's actually history behind it, but basically like showing up to the island and like you're only going to take over the island if you've burned the boat. Otherwise, like you're either going to conquer or you're just going to like try to keep taking refuge back to your safe place, which is your boat, because then you can back out and head out.
Mhm.
But if you like what this like who was it, Taylor? We talk about this
I
a
don't
lot now
know.
because we
I
loved it so
know.
much. I
I
forget.
can't remember the conqueror. I always say like Christopher Columbus, and that's not correct.
It's
Maybe I'm
not.
going to look it up right now because it's going to bother me.
Okay, but yeah, they literally showed up. There's like real history, and then they whoever was leading it saw all of his like guys starting to like take refuge back to the boat because it was like the safe choice, and he was like, "Nope, we are burning the boat right now because you're just going full into this, and there's no turning around."
Burn the damn.
So
I'm gonna put that somewhere or have it like written in my notebook. Burn the boat.
yeah. And I think too, I mean, to be honest,
It's
when
Alexander the Great. Sorry. Just
okay, cool.
interrupting for my Google search.
Great. So we I think there is also something to say when you are like younger. Like how old were you when you left that hair? You said high school, right?
Yeah, I was like 18.
Yeah. So like when you do there is, I will say, a leg up when you just have less responsibilities, less like financial responsibilities, all
Yeah.
that stuff to just go all in. But it's not to say that you can't do it now. I mean, you see people that go to college really easily when they turn 18, but then you see people that go back to college when they're in their 40s, when they have a family and all that stuff. It just looks a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that you just make a more calculated, like, what is the risk that I'm willing to do? And I
Yeah.
think that part of the Delulu was, and I've always thought that, and maybe this is something that I shouldn't say about myself because it's not super flattering, but I've never thought, oh, I'm a savant. I'm this incredible artist that I started out. It's not like I always have been really creative and I've always done, and I've always felt like I know what's good. I'm not sure that I am good yet, but I know what's good, and you will. My firm belief is that you will not outwork me to find out how to make it good. And that was the power behind me. It wasn't that I believed that I was just this genius out of nothing. It was just like I will never. I'm just relentless. Like I can figure it out. And then I can figure out how to be passively great, I guess. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's great. No, I think that there's like such a common um like thread of that mental state, or like of knowing that. We had Kate with Kate and Company on a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
she's based in St. Louis, and she was saying that like she never really expected to be at the top of her like local market, but she worded it as like, I just always kind of I wanted to challenge things as far as like here it's always just like, oh, that's good enough, and like everybody just uses the same gold Chiavari from the local company.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, if this planner from Jackson Hole can get this certain plate, why can't we just put it on a truck and bring it to St.
I love
Louis? Yeah, like we just need to broaden out. And so what you were just saying too is like you knew that what was good, and then you just were like, let's just do it. Like,
it.
why
Mhm.
can't it be done? So that's so cool.
Also remember, if we want to add one more quote just for the theme, well, I was in 3rd grade, and I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said, I really hope I'm not wrong on that one, but if I was going to, it was in the, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but the essence of it is, if I'm going to be a street sweeper, I want to be the best street sweeper there is. And I don't know why that random excerpt from a book in my elementary school library, reading alone, I went, yes. So there was no choice for mediocrity. I had no interest unless I was going to do it at the absolute top. And it just kind of fueled the Delulu even more. So,
And then you became valedictorian, so you were at the top of the top. So here
well,
we are.
Okay, I
I
would
don't know
love
if
to
that's
like
all very
boil
healthy.
this down. I would love to like, how have you taken that idea of like, you want to be the best street sweeper, you want to be the best photographer in Napa, or the best that you can be? Like, what are you actively kind of doing in your business with your like self-competitive nature in order to make that a reality? Like, what's something on your mind that you're constantly refining, working on?
I think that I'm constantly refining and working on, and probably as simple as that. But I try to pay attention. So I think that if there's something that I latched on as a skill early on, again, it wasn't necessarily like the technical skill of photography. I'm not a person who was like, I had a family heirloom camera when I was 6 years old, and I've been taking photos ever since. It really wasn't like that. I wish I had a more romantic story, but it was more that I have an eye to understand what people want and know what is in the loop or going on. And I've always been able to kind of like, I'm not necessarily, I would love to be a tastemaker, but it's more that I can predict or that I can feel. And I don't know, the intangibles or gut feelings, and people, they're like, they're real, even though we don't have, say, hard evidence or science backing this. I'm sure we do have it somewhere, but I don't have any reference to pull it. That it's just that I try to pay attention. It's not that I'm stalking all of you girls, which I am, just out of interest. But I just try to keep like a pulse on what
Yeah.
makes people happy, and it's not so much that it's about trends, because what is what is it, like a trend is one step away from being tacky. So I don't want to do that either. It's just the relevancy, understanding, I think, very quickly, say, markets. When I moved here, I understood that if cultures are different, markets are going to be different. What is of value to these people? And it's so much more about bringing value to my clients and the people around me. Even things like this, I want to bring value to whoever I interact with, and try not to get so much out of it rather than pour it back, because I just feel like it'll come back anyway. And it's always taught me that anyway. So I think that just being in touch and kind of trying to give has made those relationships and opportunities happen. Then I figure out how to rise to the plate, if that makes sense. Um, that's I feel like a boring answer. I don't have like, well, I keep the
No,
latest
I mean,
or
sometimes you just can't explain it. And I will say that everything that you're saying is really resonating with me too, because people, or my mom specifically, kind of was like, Kelly, how did you like know like what worked for your business? Or like, there's not a lot of like entrepreneurs in my family. So she was like, how did you even like think to do this? And then how did you think to grow it? And like, she's like, I'm like, I don't know. It just like came. It was just like intuition. It was like so natural, and kind of going back to what you said too, where like it just felt so easy to flow into this. And that's kind of how I've always felt too, is that it's always just kind of felt natural and easy. And it's like, you hate saying it because you're like, that sounds so gross. Like, but it kind of is true. I don't know, Taylor,
I
how
will
do you
say
feel? Yeah.
that if I've never taken a sabbatical, but say that, we have like down season, winters, and then you'll take a concerted effort. So like 22 was insane. And then we're all going, I don't know how to breathe. What's my name? What day of the week it is? And so you're welcoming like that month or two off, not necessarily that you got to take that time, but say, I know I've had, at least in the stretch of 17 years, more on the end of it, where I've taken a little bit of time without the active photography, and I'll look back and go, did I made that? Like, that's weird. How did I do that? So I imagine that if I have imposter syndrome sometimes, that people on the other end hearing us talk about it when they're not us are going, this feels very difficult. But I just feel like, um, if I'm to add, in addition to trying to be like aware of what people want, being aware of, again, I hate to say trends, because you don't want to be that one step away from tacky, but you want to be in the loop. You want people to believe that you understand what they want, what is progressive. And I think we hear this a lot, that like, I not unfollow. I just don't choose to go out In the beginning I did, because I didn't know who I was. So I needed to like go, what are options as a photographer? And I think like emulating or finding other people helped me. But at this point, I really am leaning in so hard into what inspires me. And it's a lot of like travel, interior design, and light and color and like cinematic films. And we've heard that before, but I couldn't say it enough that I try to give myself space to turn off, to be inspired, and then to just be purposeful into going, how can I utilize this? How can I push myself to like do a shoot just for me, not a test shoot, which is a styled shoot, right? But just, I don't know. I'm always just trying to throw things against the wall. And it's not one particular thing. It's more that I just keep going. So
Yeah.
I think I talk to a lot of like newer photographers, and I think that they're grasping for wanting like, what is your instant, like, and it's just not going to be like that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
there's no magic pill, there's no
No.
magic wand. It's every day is a drop in the
Mhm.
bucket, and that like before you know it, the bucket's really heavy with like
Yes.
success or whatever. I don't know. That's a horrible
Yeah.
visual, but
No, but you're true. I think a lot of people, especially because I hang low on social media, I'm one of the worst, and I get often teased by like my very, very respected peers who I'm good friends with, that like, oh, Amanda's the best photographer you never heard of. Because I don't. I think a lot of people, when they do meet me, um, they think I have like this success overnight. I'm going, that is so far from the truth. You have no idea. One other thing, I was sitting next to Lynn Easton, who I had never met before. And um, she was telling me that I think a lot of people have big breaks and you just have to be ready for it. So I owe a lot of different tiers of recognition and success to others, and just being like ready and like ready and open to it. I know that there's been steps along the way that really made big pivots um, into my career. I can tell you them if you want to know.
yes, okay, so I love that.
Yeah.
I recently heard a quote where it was like every overnight success is a decade in the making, and I feel like
Yes.
that kind of sums up this
Yeah.
concept.
It
Yeah,
does.
and it's so true. Like everyone gets that like weird out of left field amazing inquiry or opportunity to shoot something or opportunity to meet somebody, and it's like, what do you do with those opportunities to kind of leverage them when they come? So I don't know. Can we talk more about that?
I would love to, because I have one that's kind of left field, and it didn't feel like, well, it did, and then it didn't feel like an opportunity. So when I moved, I knew no one, meaning moving to California. And so I knew that to get in the know, to understand, to get the lay of the land, I was going to have to humble myself, to second shoot, I had been doing this for upwards of 7 or 8 years at this time. And I knew I didn't need portfolio work. I had shot like the best of the best, the A-listers in Europe. I had that under my belt, but I knew it didn't matter, because I might as well have been in a different planet. And that's, I think, no one knew who I was because I lived in Europe, etc. But I knew I could do it. I had at least that under my belt. So I socialized, I helped, I put my head down, and I met some amazing people and supported them in the best way that I could. Along the way, my beautiful friend, Jenna Lamb, who's one of the best planners in the country, she recognized that. And she said, Amanda, I've seen and I know the work that you have done. And I like being around you. Will you shoot my wedding? And I nearly collapsed and died on the floor, just alone at that, because it was such an honor. I went, oh, people are recognizing, like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy they think that I'm good enough, that this great, incredible wedding planner wants me to document our wedding. And then she said, also, just to let you know, it's pre-slated in Martha Stewart. We're going to have like 8 pages. And so
Amazing.
I had to pick up myself up from the floor. And I was like, this is it. This is my time. I'm going to be
Yeah.
so, so, then I get a call potentially about 3 days later. And mind you, I agreed to shoot this wedding for free, completely for free, because I knew even at the experience that I had, and I'm not about like undervaluing services, but I think that I was aware, at least in that time, which was a while ago, print was a much stronger foothold than it is now. It was a big leveraging tool. And then Martha Stewart, you guys know that it was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I offered to do that just because I knew I was going to have creative control. I was going to be in Martha Stewart. It was a done deal. They already said yes. I don't even have to submit it for publishing. Are you kidding me? 3 days later, I get a call from Shira, who was the editor at Martha at the time. And she goes, Amanda, I know you're probably lovely. And I had met her previously at a Jose workshop, the only workshop that I had ever done many, 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 many moons ago. And she goes, but because we've never worked together for Martha, I can't let you be the person for the magazine. And I was so devastated. And I said, at first I kind of bargained, like, is there anything I can do? Because, I'm so heartbroken. This is now given to me and ripped away. And so I said, okay, I understand. I'm just going to give it a moment and I'm going to call, well, like, let's talk in a couple days. And so I went and I contacted Jose again and I reached out and I said, I know that you are in this situation sometimes where you're the one pulled in to cover these weddings where people already have a wedding photographer because I see your name. I felt comfortable with him at the time. And he said, I know this is not what you're going to want to hear, Amanda, but you're just going to have to put your head down and be as helpful as you can. And that's it. You can't do anything else. You just have to try to be helpful, a gracious person. You're going to be able to have those images. Like, he didn't say that, but I knew it. So at least I had that. But it wasn't the same. And it's heartbreaking to hear because, you were offered something and then it's like crushed. So I said, and I called Shira back and I said, I understand. I totally understand. Hopefully, maybe one day you'll see. I felt like it was a pipe dream. I was just trying to be as gracious as I could. But come wedding day, and it was a multi-day wedding. It was their hashtag was Chai meets dumpling because it was an Indian/Chinese wedding. And so I'm there for 3 days. It's not even just a one-day wedding.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm shooting like predominantly film. So my costs are skyrocketing. I'm not getting published. And Corbin comes in, and it was my first time ever meeting her. And she has, I don't know, 5-7 years on me in the industry at the time. I mean, still, obviously. And so I met her. I just introduced myself and I said, I kind of like grit my teeth and was bearing bearing it, but I wasn't trying to let it show that, hey, I just want to let you know anything you need. I'm not trying to be in your way. And I basically was trying to foster like a really positive experience because I remember Jose saying the most difficult part is when I come in and there's all these egos going around and I'm literally just there trying to do my job, as we all are. So I tried to keep that in mind. And essentially that's what happened. As the wedding went on, like Corbin would hang back and say, whatever you want to do, Amanda. And so, I took the lead on a lot of it and we kind of had this shared experience. And by the end of it, they said to me, they sat me down at the very end of the wedding and they said, honestly, we've never felt like this before. We want you to understand, like they took my hand, looked me in the eye and said, we have to be friends with you. We were so impressed. I cannot relay enough how much of a positive experience this was to shoot this with you. And ever since then, I have been tight with those two women. And I feel like because Corbin saw in me what I knew I had, she, as a very respected person who is still so respected, God, she deserves all of the things that she has photographed, White House, etc. She has kind of paved the way as like proof of concept, going, Amanda is the real deal. Like, I've seen it, I've experienced it. You need to hire Amanda. You need to hire Amanda. You need to hire Amanda. And so I have more things, but that's like one big one I will always be so grateful for, because it's really hard. I just tried, like, if I've seen a lot of photographers, they could have been mad, they could have, tried to fight their way and had an attitude, but it just wouldn't have stood to me. I wouldn't have made friends. I wouldn't have had that experience. I wouldn't have had the like fostered the like the backbone of her believing and then passing along the word about me. So like, that's never going to be lost on me.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I love that. I think that so many people are so hyper focused on only building relationships with wedding planners. We so often discount people who can truly be in our corner and champions for us, that will like 10x your business. I mean, also friends are great to have too, but like,
yeah, of course,
just be a good a good person, and like I feel like it'll take care of itself.
I have really tried to pass that forward. Anybody on my team, I'm just like, I want them to succeed. I know they're probably going to leave me eventually, but that's part of it. But like, the amount, I mean, I still had to show up and do the work and prove that I was that person, right? Because then it was going to crash and burn if it was all hollow. But to be able to at least put my foot through, it's just so invaluable. So, and it wasn't a planner. It wasn't like that. But I think those opportunities come to you and you just have to like grab it by the throat and do your best.
Yes. Okay, so totally, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm going to bring in a Bluey reference. So if you're, my kids love Bluey, okay? And
So
if
do
you're
mine.
listening to this, they just had like that 30-minute long like episode special come in. And basically the concept is like everything kind of happens for a reason. And the message was like something that may seem like a disaster or something really bad actually results in like the path being positive and really good. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, but like you never know the true effect of something until like you reach the destination. And I feel like that was the case for you. Like, you had an amazing opportunity, yay, and then it came crashing down, boo. And then you had another amazing opportunity arise from it, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and you killed it. And then, you know what I mean? That springboarded you. So don't give up when the negative things come, because that positive spin is right around the corner. And I think that's like such a great message to kind of live by. Anyway, I love Bluey, so you can tell I have kids.
But like, I know, so cute. Bluey is a healer, so we like healers around this.
It's true.
But I think that sometimes, especially when you're in the thick of like the messy, it feels disheartening. And it's so easy to be like, how many times can I need to like pick myself back up? Because as creatives, you're shot down a lot. Or like, I still take every rejection so personally. And I'm like, how could you not? And I've never gotten over it. It never gets easier.
Oh, I'm 100% the same way. I don't even follow up to ask. Like, I did a mentorship with a planner, and she was like, "Okay, so when you're told that they went a different direction, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Don't say anything." She's like, "You need to ask like why they went, what was the reasoning? Like, that's really great feedback for you." And I'm like, "Oh, that might hurt me really badly."
I know. And I just feel like, if I'm not the best, I'm the worst. But I think that that's so not true. My so wonderful friend Laura Murray introduced me to this concept, which I still need to get so much better at. And I need to make a concerted effort to do this. And I think that would propel me even more. But I shy away from things still that I could potentially be rejected. And I won't go for any. I'm very guilty of not going for anything unless I feel so certain. Thankfully, I have a good dose of confidence, but what else could I be doing? So she and I were talking about like rejection therapy, essentially going just throughout your day and asking for things that are ridiculous. And I would rather like go in a hole and die and never have anyone see me ever again. I don't want to know why you didn't want to hire me.
Yeah.
But the more you get comfortable with it and you just expect the no's or expect X, Y, and Z, I think that, I'm like here preaching it and I'm still trying to work on it, but it's one of my things that I'm trying to do. I think that would make such a big difference.
Well, we're
Oh my
all works in
gosh.
progress, and some
Yeah.
people's strengths are going to be your weakness, and vice versa. And that's a skill that actually over the last few years I've like really honed, and now I shamelessly ask people all of the things. Kelly dies. I'm like always asking like, "What's the all-in investment on this wedding? What do you charge?" Like I'm a total asker, and you could totally say no. Like you don't have to answer just because I asked.
Yeah.
Shameless.
I need a dose of that really, really badly.
Ask for
Totally.
the free ice cream sundae at the restaurant, whatever.
Yes, exactly. Like what really is the harm? It's just like this social embarrassment, but for what? You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so Amanda, you started off 17 years ago. We're actually not that far behind you. This is our 14th season. So we're just like trailing 3 years behind you.
But we're
But
teenagers, so
yeah, for sure. But yeah, you just recently went through a really cool rebrand, and I will say that I was like semi-shocked at the direction you took, but in the best way possible,
good.
because it was like so for one, different than everything we're kind of seeing in this high-end luxury, whatever word you want to use, space. And it felt so true to you, and the way that you rolled it out in telling the process behind it and why you did it that way was really inspiring to me. And I think Taylor and I were talking about this a little bit before we hit record with you, that people think that when they're going from that budget market to that lovely market and going up, they feel like they just need to follow this, like they need to get pigeonholed. And you kind of said, I was feeling a little bit pigeonholed
Yeah.
in was it both your work and your branding?
So it's more so that how I talked about Corbin coming in and shooting when I was shooting. I then transitioned and I became that person. And in that position, so like if I'm shooting a personality for not so much people, but for just different publications and we're preset, there's an expectation of perfection and almost ultra directed. And I knew how to do it well. I had practiced that skill. And to me, it was such a flex. And I was really proud of myself to be able to know how to light, expertly style, art direct, know what's going to read in camera versus real life and floral, know how to pull an entire table out of the actual space so that we could just a cat like a whole laundry list of arsenal of tools that I've had, and I showcase that a lot. But what I feel happened is because you want to show more of what you want to get. I feel that especially with the nod and the embrace of say real life or our beautiful in between moments, I was always taking those, but I was trying to flex with my perfect. And I
Mm-hmm.
went, I'm not doing myself any service by showing the width of what I'm capable of by only doing this because I think that's the flex. I'm missing that my whole personality and my range isn't being shown. And there's
Mm-hmm.
something to be said that I often meet a ton of people who only say know me online, and they had this impression of me, which was not my personality whatsoever. Like I'm very irreverent. I will, you know, just be down for a laugh or a good time all the time. I have a ton of energy, like you were saying. I love people, but I I'm not this ultra perfected, like overly contrived and styled picture that I once was. And I needed that brand to step in a direction to really like show the edge, so show the sexy without trying to be cheap. And I think that what I've learned is that I got jobs. I got big jobs, like NDA, can't tell you who they are jobs, through that previous brand. And so I'm lucky enough that they wanted to hire me. But what I learned is that these people want to feel like real people are around them. And so I understood that real luxury isn't about this pretense. It's more about the value and style and character and depth that you can show. And I think that's what I really, really wanted it to be. And I still have to like finish the site and all of that I was telling you guys. But that it's so funny how like an Hermes orange and some sharp lettering can just convey an entirely different thing than calligraphy, for example. And I just wanted to drive it home that like on the way to a wedding, I might be listening to some ratchet music, but at the same time, in the bath, I'll listen to classical. Like I'm a whole person. I'm not this one pigeonholed. Again, I'm saying that over and over, but I feel like I was, and I feel like there was this connotation that, oh, she doesn't do that. I'm like, no, actually, I do it, and I do it really well. And I can pull personality out of so many people, and I know how to light it, and I know how to do this, and I know how to pull all that, and I love it. Why am I not showing it? And I can do it at this level. And so that's what I really wanted to like just drive home so much. So hopefully, if it just feels different and elevated, then, the job is done. And Nubo, I have to say, is the one doing it. And she's done an excellent job. She's just like, pow, she might be the real overnight success.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to, because we worked together, I believe it was like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you did that's like always going to stand in my mind is that we came from the church, we went back to the venue, we hadn't had a chance to shoot the cocktail hour space. And your second shooter was like, kind of stressing about it maybe, and I was too. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's already people in the space, we didn't get a chance. It's that we're coming off of that era of perfection
Yeah.
in the photo video world, so
And
it's
by
like we
the
have.
way, I think it's still there, but you have to also, I think that's where the luxury, if anyone is confused, you can't you can't get away with not doing it. You have to, so go on.
Yes, so the guests had already arrived. They'd kind of gotten seated at the tables. And I think maybe your second had said something along the lines of like, oh, do you want me to go ask them to move? And you were like, I never ask a guest to move. And I
Mm.
was like, whoa, I have definitely asked guests to move or said, like, in the kindest way possible, we haven't had a chance to shoot this space yet. Would you guys mind stepping aside, type of thing? And you
Mm.
were like, no, this is like how it is. We're just going to shoot it how it is. And so I'm kind of curious, was that you like coming into your own of like knowing you wanted to move away from the perfection, or was that just a standard practice that you always lived by?
I think that I learned that, and the importance of, I think guest experience was paramount. And that if for either fault of timeline or, live event nature of a wedding, that it didn't happen, we're still going to, do our best. And if I have to retouch a person out, be it. But also at the same time, challenge myself. Do I do a long exposure and have people milling through it? Because that's really what it was. And maybe I can embrace it. Maybe I can look at it from a different frame. But I don't, I mean, there will be things I will move, I will suggest, but to our professional teams, to our designers, to our planners, I will game plan with you, Kelly. I will do all the things still. But I think that at a certain level, I don't want to fake anything too much. And I also want it to have an element of real life, because at what cost are we overdoing all of it? So
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think maybe even we had a chance, or I think Paul had a chance to go back after all the guests had gotten seated at dinner and reshoot the space,
Mm.
clean, no people in it, just kind of rearranging some chairs. But I don't know. I just felt like that was such a gracious move on your part, and it brought me out of that perfect, having
Yeah.
to shoot everything so perfect and go back to the roots of, this is a live event. Like, it happens the way it happens. Yeah.
I try as much as I can. If there's a type A personality, I'm a type A plus personality. But that is so that I will pre plan and put my opinion in where I feel I can. Like I'm reading the room with a designer or planner and going, yes, but this, or I don't know because of that. And as long as I've done my job to make everyone aware of the potential caveats, I have done my job. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to step away or I'm being lazy, but it's more so like it's old and stuffy to be over perfect now anyway. It's like I'm so glad that this is all about life. Like this is their life, this is their event, this is, so I don't want to impede on a client's experience. Like I want them to go sit down, enjoy their cocktail rather than have to wait for me and my team for 10. Just do it, have a fun time. And I'd probably rather get a portrait and that vibe and that moment rather than like a bud vase. Like, let's be real. So, yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, definitely coming off of that ultra styled, that 2018, 2019, 3000 flat lays with all of the styling elements, you know what I mean? And it is
Yeah.
kind of fun. And the pendulum does swing, so I'm sure we'll see that come back, at some point. But I
Yeah.
think it's nice to live with what we have now. And
If I can say, as someone who is seasoned, like I can say it now that like we're veterans and I can see what still is important. I think that because it was so perfected, there is, like you said, that pendulum swing, but people are going to be upset if you don't take the effort beforehand to also still elevate and still get um, proper cinema photography of everything they've spent all this money on. It's
yep.
again, not one or the other, but all. And if
Yes,
you don't
and
have the team to do it, you cannot play at that level. And I just make no apologies. Like you need to have 4 people if you need to have 4 people. And if you can't afford to hire four people, you need to charge more. And if you can't charge more, you need to figure out how. And that was really mean. Very, but that's just the truth. And if somebody wants me to help them understand that, I really feel like it's not one or the other, So I don't know if you guys know this, but John Dolan, who is like the pioneer of the imperfect, right? And he's been doing it forever. Um, and he kind of made weddings cool through Martha. And he still wants to shoot the way he wants to shoot, but he knows that people still have this expectation. So he will hire the best of the best to come in and shoot the things that he can't, and they will still get a gallery of all of the beautiful things and then all the beautiful in between moments and all of the fun blackmail that we like to photograph. I started, and I've never changed that tagline. You just can't really find it now, but it's downright dirty sophisticated was my original tagline 17 years ago. And I feel like I lied to myself by being this ultra perfected photographer. And I went, well, that's kind of sad because I just stripped away all my personality. And I genuinely used to have like what I called, it wasn't that bad, but it was a blackmail gallery on my website.
I love it. I love it. No, John Dolan, he's so amazing. And we did a wedding on Friday, and we were working with a photographer who is so talented. And he, I think, really also fell very hard into like the perfection era, or just like the rinse and repeat. Like, and
Yeah.
I was the same exact way. And so I kind of asked him, knowing like we worked together a lot, I was like, hey, like, when do you want to do touch up shots, and where do you want to do those? And he's like, actually, I'm not going to do them. I actually had a conversation recently with John Dolan that was like, but why? But
Yeah.
why are we shooting that? Like, do we really need to? Like, if the makeup artist steps in to do some touch-ups while after she's gotten the dress on, that's great. But like, how are we're staging so much and like boiling it down
Yeah.
until there's like you talk about like broccoli, like raw broccoli has so much protein in it and vitamins, but when you boil it down, it almost gets rid of all of them. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, how much are we boiling down a moment to where there's no really like life or vitamins left in it that like serves you? And so I was so proud of him when I heard him say that, because I was like, wow, that's so true. Like, good for him. So
Mhm. We're taking out the truth of, like, I think that that could be a reason why I almost don't like to tell people how long I've done this, because I think they assume that I'm from an era or that I'm stuck and that I don't recognize. But the truth of it was, we were expected, we were told, and it was, you have to. And then I think a lot of the education for brides and grooms was that expectation. I need this perfect. I want that perfect. And thank goodness, that's relaxing, and they value moments, and they value um, the full range of emotions on a wedding day. Because to me, that is the more skilled um, technical ability, to be able to anticipate, understand, and then still get a beautifully composed, layered, real, organic image.
Okay, this has been so great. I'm like coming up with episode titles in my head, and I feel like something along the lines of like embracing your multi-dimensional self or something like that. Like, I feel like that like kind of like resonates, and like it boils it down to like a sentence. But this has been such a great conversation. Sometimes these kind of like, we're not sure where the conversation is going to take us. Like, these episodes are some of my favorite. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all of your insights. I think it's been really valuable to those who are listening. And if somebody who is listening, maybe just learning about you, where can they find you online? Although you did say you're not on Instagram a ton, but that's okay.
Well, I'm always saying that I'm going to do better. Who knows if that'll actually happen? But it's just my name, so Amanda, then Crean, Crean, and that's my site too. So I'll do better.
amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you again, Amanda. I can't wait for those to be listening to this one, and I can't wait for our next opportunity to work together. And I
That's
hope you have, yeah, and I hope that you have a great 2024 season.
Thanks, girls. Thanks, you too. I'm so happy to be able to have my day little bits with you guys.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.